Chapter 6. Tracy glanced at Daphne and sighed. Sorry, Harry. Daphne isn't very happy about this whole situation. She willingly agreed to become a servant, but only to avoid the marriage her father was forcing on her. And what about you? Harry asked, before his brain could stop him. Tracy smiled brightly at him with a look he couldn't quite read. I think I'm pretty happy with this arrangement. After all, you were my preference when it came to whom we'd be assigned to. Harry couldn't help but blush, which made Tracy giggle. Don't worry, I'll gladly fulfill all... Tracy emphasized the words, all my obligations. Tracy stood up from her seat. But I have one condition, she said, stepping closer to Harry. Just leave Daphne alone. Tracy carefully sat on Harry's lap, leaning back against his chest and pressing her hips against him. Do we have a deal? She whispered. Harry's breath caught in his chest as he felt his wand stir in his pants. He looked at Daphne and was surprised by her expression. Daphne looked at Tracy with surprise. She seemed grateful and a little sad. Tracy, you're not... Daphne started, but Tracy interrupted her. Shh, don't worry, Tracy replied to her friend with a smile. It's all right. No, Harry said. He stood up, making Tracy rise from his lap. For a moment she looked annoyed, but then calmed down when she saw Harry's expression. Listen, Harry addressed both girls. Neither of you has to do anything you don't want to. I'm not going to report you to the ministry or anywhere else. Tracy doesn't need to sleep with me just so I won't try to take Daphne. Both girls looked more than surprised at his words. They looked at each other for a moment, communicating silently. Thank you, Harry, Tracy finally said. I really appreciate that. She glanced at Daphne. We really appreciate it, she said a little louder. Daphne finally looked at Harry. Thank you, Potter, she said quietly. No need to thank me, Harry replied, feeling a bit awkward. This was nothing like what he had expected. Listen, you both should head back to your dorms for the night. When you move to the other end of the corridor tomorrow, we can talk in more detail. I just want to confirm again that I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to. Both girls nodded in response to his words. Okay, Harry. See you tomorrow, Tracy said as she walked over to Daphne. Tracy helped Daphne to her feet. Harry noticed Daphne's legs tremble slightly as she stood. Harry escorted them to the portrait door and opened it for them. Daphne stepped into the corridor, but Tracy stayed in place. Thanks again, Harry, Tracy said, leaning in to hug him. As soon as she embraced him, she leaned forward to whisper in his ear. I know you said we don't have to do anything we don't want to, but you should know that I really want to sleep with you. Harry was too stunned to respond as Tracy quickly pecked him on the cheek before stepping back. She smirked, enjoying the surprised look on his face. Good night, Harry, she said, spinning on her heels so quickly that the back of her skirt fluttered up, and Harry caught a glimpse of her lower half clad in green silk panties. Harry slowly closed the portrait door and leaned his forehead against it. Merlin, maybe I will actually like this. Chapter 7. The next morning, Harry woke up and quickly got ready. They had one free day between arriving at Hogwarts and the start of classes to settle in. For Harry, it also meant that today was the day when his two escorts would move into the house opposite him. He had just taken a shower and changed when he met Hermione by their rooms. She gave him a nervous smile. Harry noticed that she must have barely slept the night before. He hadn't slept much either. He was too excited, with thoughts of Tracy swirling in his mind. They headed down to the Great Hall to have breakfast. The hall was already filled with hundreds of students. The pair approached the Gryffindor table and sat at the edge near the staff table. Harry's mother, Lily, was already there having breakfast. She waved to Harry and he waved back before she returned to her conversation with Professor McGonagall. Harry and Hermione had barely taken a few bites when Ron sat down at the table across from them. He looked pale and nervous, scrutinizing Hermione as he settled in. Hermione tensed up next to Harry and deliberately shifted so that she wasn't looking directly at Ron. "Are you okay, mate?" Harry asked. I'm fine, Ron replied with a weak smile. He opened his mouth to say something else, but the words never came. He lowered himself into his seat and reluctantly began filling his plate. A minute of awkward silence passed as the trio slowly ate their food. Neither Ron nor Hermione looked particularly hungry, they were just poking at their meals. Harry was doing his best to catch the gaze of either of his friends, but they both were doing everything they could to be as uncomfortable as possible. Harry sighed. Look, I know this is a weird situation, but we'll deal with it together, okay? He finally said. Hermione didn't respond, but Ron nodded slightly. Right, I mean, it doesn't mean we have to have sex. His words trailed off as Hermione shot an angry glance at Ron. See you later, Harry, Hermione murmured, sharply getting up from the table and leaving the great hall. Harry glanced at Ron. You're an idiot, he said straightforwardly. I know, Ron replied, burying his head in his hands. Why did I say that? Because it's so awkward that your brain can't come up with anything else, Harry guessed. Ron groaned. I just wasn't thinking. You never think, Weasley, Draco said, approaching Ron and Harry. That's your problem. You're as dumb as a sack of rocks. Leave, Malfoy, Harry said. We don't need this right now. Draco ignored him. I just came to see what put Granger in such a proper state. Why? Ron exploded, releasing the frustration he'd been holding since yesterday. Since when do you even care? Draco rolled his eyes at Ron. I don't, but I don't intend to anger the witch who basically controls me. Harry frowned. I wonder why you became an escort. None of your business, Potter. Draco smirked. Now, where did Granger go? I need to talk to her. I'll kill him, Harry, Ron growled, standing up. His fists were clenched tightly as he approached Draco. Draco, on the other hand, seemed completely unfazed by Ron's actions. He looked at Harry and raised an eyebrow. I don't know where she is, Malfoy, Harry sighed. Maybe she's in her room or the library. See, I knew you'd be useful for something. Later, Weasley. Draco waved his hand, turning away. That's how it is, Ron growled, drawing his wand. Flipendo. The spell flipped Draco upside down in the air. The blond boy landed on his back, groaning in pain. Mr. Weasley, Lily shouted, walking around the staff table. She cast a silent expulsion charm, catching Ron's wand as it flew toward her. What do you think you're doing? Ron quickly stepped back, seeing Lily approaching him. The look on her red-haired face could surpass even that of his own mother. I was 20 points from Gryffindor, Lily said, and a week in detention with Mr. Filch. Ron sighed. Yes, Professor. With a stern expression, Lily returned Ron his wand. Draco had already gotten up and was leaving the Great Hall. Harry was surprised. Just a year or two ago, Draco would have blasted a curse at Ron no matter if a professor was there to witness it. Harry had been so focused on Draco, he hadn't noticed his mother approaching him. Harry, do you think we could talk in my office? She asked him. Harry nodded. Okay, I'm ready to go if you want. Chapter 8. Lily's office was in the dungeon near her classroom. Unlike most other rooms down here, she had managed to give this place a much more pleasant appearance. She had installed false windows enchanted to recreate the sense of the backyard in Godric's Hollow. Several potted mushrooms for potion making grew along the walls, and a cozy fireplace warmed the room with a pleasant glow. Lily sat down at her desk. Tea, she offered. Please, Harry replied. His mother poured each of them a cup and leaned back in her chair. How's Hermione doing? Lily asked Harry. Harry's expression darkened. Not so well, he answered honestly. I think she was hoping to meet someone nice and suitable for her, not Ron or Malfoy. It's awful that she had 2 chances and neither of them turned out to be what she was hoping for. Lily nodded and took a sip of her tea. The poor girl looked scared. It was worse than when she accidentally walked in on James a couple of years ago when he was changing. Harry snorted at that memory. Hermione had been over and was very traumatized by the event. James had laughed about it, but Hermione couldn't even look at him for 2 days afterward. I visited her last night to talk. She thinks she can just leave Ron and Malfoy to their own devices. Maybe make them bring her library books, but nothing more. Lily laughed. That sounds like the perfect application for Hermione. Though who knows, she might end up finding out that one of them actually appeals to her. I don't think that's likely, Harry said, making a face. Ron is just a friend to her, and Malfoy has been a jerk for years. Lily hummed thoughtfully. Who knows? People can change over time. I wouldn't be surprised if Ron and Draco alter their behavior because of the situation they're in. By the way, Mom, do you know why Draco is working as a caretaker? Harry asked. What do you mean? Lily replied. Well, Draco wasn't dumb. He did well in his classes. So he must have decided to become an escort, Harry explained. Lily nodded. I thought that was strange too, but I know no more than you do. Harry mused, thinking about Draco. Harry and Lily took another sip of tea. So, how are you handling all of this? Lily asked Harry. Harry's thoughts drifted back to last night, and a slight blush appeared on his face. Good, right? Lily teased. Harry spat out his tea, and Lily laughed at him. Mom! He exclaimed, pulling out his wand and casting drying charms on her desk. Sorry, Lily chuckled. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Your father and I were a little worried about you. You looked really nervous before leaving for Hogwarts, and then when I announced your escorts. Yeah, try asking your mom to announce anything like that, Harry muttered. Lily giggled. Oh, believe me, your grandmother loved teasing me and your father when we were younger. Now it's your turn to suffer. Harry rolled his eyes and took a sip of tea. It's a bit of a weird situation. Daphne became a maid just to avoid the marriage her father was trying to force on her. Tracy decided to join her. Apparently, it was Tracy's father who managed to get the policy about multiple escorts introduced, so Tracy and Daphne could be together. Wow, Lily said in surprise. I never thought Edward Davis would go that far to help his daughter. You know Tracy's father? Harry asked. Lily nodded. He was a couple of years older than your dad and me at Hogwarts. Ravenclaw, if I remember right. Tracy's mother, Olive Davis, also went to Ravenclaw a year ahead of us. They both seemed nice enough, but I can't believe he went that far. Harry nervously bit his lip. Please, don't tell anyone except Dad. I wouldn't want... Don't worry, Harry. We won't say a word, Lily assured him. Harry smiled at his mom. Anyway, like I said, it's all a bit strange. I guess we'll talk about everything in detail today. I don't think we're really going to do anything. Mom, why am I even talking to you about this? Harry shook his head, avoiding her gaze. There's nothing to be ashamed of, sweetheart. Everyone has sex, and your father and I know it took quite a while to get there. We went through the awkwardness, Lily joked, trying to comfort her son. Hey, just don't do anything in the Great Hall or my classroom, and we can both pretend nothing's changed, Lily smirked. Harry sighed deeply. I'll just block out the last 20 minutes from my memory if you don't mind. Just don't forget to use charms to make sure no one else gets pregnant, Lily laughed, standing up. I'm out of here, he shouted, trying to drown out the sound of his mother's voice. Chapter 9. Don't forget about safety, Lily shouted back at him, still giggling as Harry hurried out the door. Harry returned to the corridor on the 7th floor where his and Hermione's rooms were located. As he approached his room, the portrait at the other end of the hallway swung open. Climbing 7 flights of stairs is just ridiculous, Draco said to himself as he stepped out of his room. He paused upon seeing Harry. Potter, he nodded. Harry frowned. Why are you so... calm, Malfoy? Draco rolled his eyes. Look, I guess we'll be seeing each other often. Do you want to fight with me every day? No, Harry replied slowly. Then how do you behave with someone you don't want to fight? Draco asked, as if speaking to a child. Politely, Harry answered. Gold star for you, Potter, Draco announced. Now, do you think you could get Granger out of her room? She refuses to talk to me. Wonder why? Harry said out loud as he approached Hermione's portrait door. Hermione, he called. The portrait opened slightly. Harry? Hermione asked. Yeah, can I come in? Harry smiled at her. Hey, I wanted Granger to come out here, Draco exclaimed, gesturing to the corridor around them. Harry ignored him and stepped inside as Hermione let him in. She took off her outer robe, and there were half a dozen open books on her desk. Decided to get ahead of the schoolwork to avoid seeing Malfoy? He asked. Harry, Hermione said sharply. Oh, come on, Hermione, Harry sighed. Have you even said a word to Malfoy? No, and I'm not going to, Hermione replied irritably. Why not? I get that he's a fake and all, but there's a certain situation that needs discussing, Harry said. Hermione turned to face him angrily. That guy has called me a mudblood for the last 5 years. I'm not going to talk to him just because he's bothering me now. Harry raised his hands in surrender as Hermione got angry. I get it, believe me, I do. But that didn't stop you from talking to him before, even if it was just to insult him. Why don't you just tell him to back off and leave you alone? Because... Hermione paused, staring at the ceiling. Harry took that as a sign she was trying to come up with an answer quickly. Come on, I'll be right beside you, Harry said, stepping next to Hermione. If he says anything rude, I'll curse him for you. Hermione sighed. You're not leaving until I talk to Malfoy, are you? Harry smirked at her. Nope, so we better go. All right, Hermione said, taking a deep breath. Let's go. Harry grabbed her hand so she wouldn't run away and opened the portrait door. Draco was standing outside, looking very displeased. Granger, Draco began, but Harry cut him off. Apologize for calling her that dirty name for years, Harry demanded. Draco raised an eyebrow at him. This doesn't concern you, Potter. Oh, yes it does, Harry replied. And if you want your life to not be miserable, I suggest you apologize right now. Draco wanted to be stubborn, but then swallowed his pride. Granger, he said, looking at Hermione, I sincerely apologize for calling you a mudblood all these past 5 years. Hermione just stared at Draco with tired eyes. Harry could almost see the thoughts running through her mind. Fine, I accept your apology, but you have to promise not to use that word again. I promise not to call you... No, Hermione said firmly. You have to promise not to use it again, not just not to call me that. Draco pressed his lips tightly together. After a moment, he gave in. I promise not to use that insult anymore. Happy? Very, Hermione said angrily. Now, what do you want? Draco seemed to calm down. I wanted to discuss the expectations of our agreement. He glanced at Harry. In private. Harry looked at him. Whatever you share with Hermione, she'll share with me. I don't care, Potter, Draco said, though he didn't exactly look like he meant it. I just want to talk to Granger alone. Harry glanced questioningly at Hermione. She thought for a moment before shaking her head. All right, I'll talk to him alone. See you later, Harry. Harry nodded, throwing Draco a look he hoped was threatening. I'll be in my room if you need me. Harry stepped aside, and Hermione let Draco into her room. Casting one last reassuring glance at Harry, she closed the portrait behind her. Harry took a deep breath, turned around, and saw Daphne and Tracy standing at the end of the corridor. Never thought I'd see the day Draco apologized to a Gryffindor, Tracy smirked. Too bad I don't have a camera to capture that moment. Chapter 10. Daphne rolled her eyes, but Harry could see she also looked pleased by what she observed. Have you two moved in yet? Harry asked. Tracy looked at Daphne, who was staring right at her. Yes, she answered. Good, Harry smiled, trying to ease the growing awkward tension. Tracy seemed already accustomed to it. She didn't let the tension throw her off. Do you think we could talk again in your room? Harry snorted. You're not planning to sit on me again this time, are you? He joked. Daphne shot him an irritated look, but Tracy was ready to play along. We thought we'd let you forget about it so that one night while you're sleeping we could slip poison in your ear, Tracy laughed. Don't give away all our plans right now, Daphne muttered. The portrait to Harry's room swung open as Daphne approached it. She quickly stepped inside, leaving Tracy and Harry in the hallway. Poor her, Tracy said grimly. This whole situation has been really tough for her over the past year. It's okay. I understand. Hermione is having a hard time with all of this too, Harry said. Tracy looked at Harry. You two? What about us? Harry asked. Tracy giggled. I mean, are you two more than just friends? Harry stared at her for a second before bursting into laughter. No, she's my best friend, that's it. Tracy nodded. All right then, let's go into the room. She gestured towards the door. Harry followed Tracy inside. Daphne was already sitting in the same spot as yesterday. Tracy sat down next to her and smiled. We just wanted to clarify what you're expecting from us, Tracy explained. As you know, the staff is needed for more than just that. Harry smiled awkwardly at that. Yeah, I know, he said, nervously running a hand through his messy hair. I get that I can ask you to handle all the boring stuff I don't want to do, but as I said yesterday, I'm not going to order either you or Daphne to do anything you don't want to. So no random snack requests in the middle of the night or anything like that. Tracy smiled at Harry in response. All right, if you ever want to do something like that, you can always ask me. I probably won't mind, but little Miss Princess might have a harder time with it. Daphne shot a glance at Tracy for that remark. There are house elves at school who handle those things. Potter just needs to ask one of them to do it. See what I mean? Tracy smirked, looking at Harry. Daphne frowned. Tracy reached out and took her friend's hand. Oh, come on, Daph, I'm just joking. It took a moment for Daphne to listen to her friend, but eventually she nodded. Tracy patted the back of Daphne's hand and turned back to Harry. I'd prefer that you just ask me to do whatever you need instead of Daphne. Harry nodded. I understand. He turned to focus on the blonde girl. Daphne, he said, trying to get her attention. Daphne reluctantly lifted her eyes to Harry. I'm not going to ask you for anything, don't worry. You'd better not ask Tracy either, Daphne brushed off. You can do it yourself. Daphne, Tracy interjected sharply before Harry could say anything. Calm down. No, Daphne suddenly stood up and ran out of the room. What was that about? Harry asked Tracy. Tracy sighed heavily. She put her legs up on the couch and pulled a pillow close to her. You have to understand, Harry, that from Daphne's perspective, the most important person in her life tried to sell her against her will for his own gain. The only way to avoid that is to become a maid. On top of that, she hates the fact that I've become one too. Harry shot a curious glance at Tracy. What do you mean? He asked. Tracy weakly smiled at Harry. I told you yesterday that I became one just to stay with Daphne and make sure she was safe. I didn't want her to end up lonely and unhappy with some random student, even if that would be better than being sold off. I wanted to be there for her, to make sure there was always someone she trusted by her side. Daphne feels guilty about it. She thinks it's her fault that I sacrificed the rest of my life to become a maid. Tracy chuckled softly. She didn't talk to me for 3 weeks after I volunteered to be her maid. Tracy looked Harry in the eyes. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But being a maid isn't something I've ever been against. I mean, the pay isn't bad, but what held me back was who I'd be working for. I wanted someone I knew would treat me well and let me be myself, not just hook up whenever they wanted. I know some men and women want that, but I didn't. That's why I'm happy to be with you, Tracy smiled.